Okay, you can ask away.
Hello. We are wondering how are things going on your end regarding the processes that are playing out on planet Earth right now?
Thank you for calling us in. Yes, this is very exciting times. This is the night. This is the time. This is everything that is needed to happen to unfold to be able to awaken humanity. The last bits of the people who are still needing the proof. This is the proof. This is the tremendous time for your proof. And this will be coming to you and to everyone. As most people are already aware of the information, you will not get the surprises as you may think, because you already know the bigger truths. So this is slowly for, as you were saying before, the slow kids in the class to be able to catch up and understand that the information that has been provided for humanity to awaken is the truth and will be disclosed in these short coming days, because the time is now. Humanity has got the attention of this. And there are so many things now that are coming to play. It is kind of a climax for, yeah, your great awakening. And this is very exciting for us. So we are very pleased. And of course, there has been many attempts to be able to distract and to hijack this. And we are very busy keeping this in order. Humanity is humanity's worst enemy in some regards, because you have two sides, if not three or four, that are all varying and vying for their own attention to be able to get their own agendas predominant. And so there has been some conflict that we have taken care of, because we do not want this to be a time for grandstanding, for more destruction and harm. It is going to plan as we have been advising you for all this time. And so we are very excited because it is going perfectly. And while we understand that you have been patiently waiting for this information to come out, it needed to take this time. The stubborn people, shall we say, needed to have this support and to have the information to go at their pace, because they're still battling their own egos, they're still battling their own shadows, and they're still distracting themselves with being uh, distracted by others. So they need to have that maturity to grow within themselves to see the bigger truth. So there is still much distractions for the people who are needing to be distracted and wanting to be distracted, and not to awaken to the truths. Most people know and have heard the information, but if they are truly disconnected from their intuition, they will doubt that, and they will be very vocal on that. They will judge people who are trying to share that truth. And so, at what point, if you have kept being the bully for the people trying to share the truth, when are you going to be honest with yourself and apologize and own your actions? It's got to the point now where the crowd is saying, the emperor has no new clothes, the emperor is naked. And those people who have been trying to uh, use their influences to say, no, 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 the king has these beautiful new clothes. We can see this. We can see this. Even though the whole crowd now is literally pointing at the king who is naked and saying, the emperor has no new clothes. He is naked. There are still those supporters that are trying to lie to themselves and to others and saying, no, 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 we can see the clothes. And we know that this was an obscure analogy, but we are wanting to just point out that there are people who have suddenly realized that they are on the wrong side of this narrative, and they have been so vocal with calling the Trumpers delusional, calling the QAnons conspiracy theorists. They've been so comfortable in naming and blaming and shaming people who are genuinely trying to get the truth out. And so they have been so public. Where do you go? Do you remove yourself from Facebook? Do you say you've been banned? Where do you go and remove yourself to have some time out for you to think and reflect? And then, because your moral compass has been suddenly switched on, how do you go back from all those thousands of people you have trolled to all of those people that you have shamed and named? It is a huge time for humility and for compassion to come to play. But as you can understand, some people do not want to be accountable for their actions. And so they're still stuck and they're still having to hold on to their narrative because they do not want to be wrong, even though they know now that they were.
Yes, thank you for that. I can definitely see how they will have a lot of work to do once this is revealed. The human broadcast, is that imminent at this point?
Yes, indeed, and it has been coming, and it has already started. There is so many disclosures, so many leaks, so much truth that's coming out. You'd have to be one of those special people that is still saying that they can see the emperor's clothes when he's clearly butt naked. To keep up the facade now. There is so much out there. If you just research for 1 minute, you would start seeing some very honest, strong players here who are very professional, who have got the intel of all this information, and they have been providing this. This has been very hard for them to provide this information because it just seems too crazy. And just like the people who are already awake, when they have discovered a juicy friend who is completely oblivious, and with all your love, you try to give them the red pill, where do you start? It is such a gigantic ball of information that does seem quite twisted and knotty, and you have to be able to find an end point of that ball of wool, shall we say, and be able to unravel it for your friend at every step to be able to give them all the information. And how do you start that? How do you start explaining how things have got so tremendously out of control? Where do you start? What point? What subject matter do you bring up first? It's so gigantically huge. It's nearly impossible. Uh, to be able to start unraveling this for people who are completely in the dark. So this is such a huge conversation and topic to have. And at what point does it seem just too impossible to share? And so for the people who have been trying to share the truth with it, they have been doing this for many long times. And so when you have new followers that are starting, the newbies that are trying to understand what the heck is going on, and what do you mean my news is not telling me my news, and why are people being suppressed? I don't understand it. And so these generally confused new people coming on to the scenes to try and understand what's happening because they just feel like something is tremendously not right, and they're not feeling with their intuition what they've been told by the mainstream narrative is the truth anymore. They are still unconvinced about the virus. They're still unconvinced about the vaccines, and they're still unconvinced about the politics that's going on. And things seem very noisy and very destructive to them. So they're trying to soothe themselves by finding the truth, and they're having to really do their own research to look through and find out, because there's very strong positions on both sides of what's happening here. If they scroll through their social media platforms, they will see many voices. It's confusing until you start wanting to ask your own questions and find your own truths. It's very easy to find the truth when you're open to asking and finding the truth, and not be stubborn and stuck in your own narrative that you have believed for so long is the only way.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for that. I do see that certain friends of mine that they're coming to me now and saying, hey, this doesn't look right. It seems like more and more people are starting to awaken. Have we reached basically the point where it's gonna take, say, the human broadcast to awaken the rest of them?
It's more like they are aware of the truth of the other side, but they're in denial. And so when they have to have the full truth spelled out to them, then they have to learn to have that emotion to be able to overcome that. They're going to be humiliated, they're going to be embarrassed, they're going to be, feeling a whole lot of feelings. And then after they get over themselves, we say that with love, then they have to actually process the information of what they've been denying. And that's going to be the hardest part for them, is to be able to, once they, because they're in such resistance to the truth. And so when you actually accept the truth and allow the truth to honor the truth, that is such a hard step forward, because it's grim. It is very challenging, to be able to rise above, knowing the truth and not get stuck in, the shock of the truth, and to be able to see it from the bigger picture. And we keep saying, remember, everyone is here with their own life purpose, their own life contracts, and their own free will. And so don't get stuck in the drama and the cruelties and the crimes against humanity, and don't even get stuck in blaming the people who have done the crimes against humanity, because there's bigger purpose there. And while some people love to just be hecklers and have, people to hate, they need to have someone to hate, because they can't focus on themselves, or they can't focus on their real issues of the things that they are triggered with trauma wise. So, uh, your question was, is there enough people now to have awoken? And people, are learning the truth, but there is so much lessons still that need to be conquered and explored and experienced. And so, for the people who are awake, who have always known the truth, this is the time to show compassion to the people who have been the hecklers, who have been the naysayers, who have been the trolls, who have not wanted to be open to the truth. And the reason why they are like that is because they have got such deep trauma wounds for themselves that they're distracting themselves with. And so they're hurting, um, tremendously. And of course, this is general for everyone. But, some of those people are really stuck. They're angry with the world. Something has happened to them that they have not been able to overcome, and so they need to have an issue with Trump, or they need to have an issue with someone, or they need to not follow, a group because they don't understand the group, and they need to be outsiders and feel, disfranchised. Like, there's so much that is, why a person has, chosen to be, in these places right now. And so everyone's still learning to experience, how to unfold and process this information. For the people who are already settled with the information about the crimes against humanity, who already know how corrupt things are, you are to save space, for those who are still learning to understand and process that. And of course, as much as we understand you would want to, say, to your family and friends and people who have naysayed what you have wanted to say, they have been so challenging to, awaken. Um, you will not, need to shame them, because they will already feel so foolish that they didn't listen, that they were so disrespectful and confused. And so the people who are listening to these sessions will know and understand. They have had so much time to process the information, so much time to settle in with the bigger picture mindset, that people now who are awakening to the truths, the horrible truths that have happened for humanity, there will be nothing but compassion, because you'll see how shocked they are. It's so emotionally roller coaster. And we know that this is the time for you to shine and to share your light and to share your love to all.
Yes, thank you very much. And I do agree, and I do truly believe that the people that have been following this work, especially with Joe, know that there is not any room for "I told you so." We need to get right into the healing after that. So thank you for that.
As we
Now, yeah,
Yeah,
sorry.
there is no right or wrong. It's just lessons, experiences, and purposes. And this is exactly the case for this now. And so it does take some spiritual growth and maturity, to get to that place. And this is what you have been, experiencing. And your own journeys have got you into this place. This is why it feels so hard for you all to connect with your loved ones and your friends and family who haven't quite got that, and haven't quite mastered that bigger perspective, and what we would call, what you would call your 5D mindset, because you can see things from the greater vantage point, trusting that everything is unfolding as it should, while there are lessons that will need to be unpacked. So you got it, you understand it, but we just wanted to confirm to you, yes, this is the reason why a lot of you are feeling so kind of disconnected from your friends and family, and from your sort of social groups, because you can see things from the bigger picture. You're not getting triggered as much. You're getting triggered by people being triggered, and that's kind of normal. You know, you're reliving your feelings when you had to process the information, and you know, that frustration of things not happening fast enough, that frustration that the truth is not coming out, you know, that frustration that you've been lied to and manipulated. Like, you guys are allowed to be angry almost, because it's just so ridiculous. But because you have that bigger mindset, you understand that those are lessons that are very powerful. You all have been proud of your growth, even though sometimes it feels like you're disconnecting yourselves from your crowd, from your crew, because you have that bigger mindset. This is all purposeful as well. You are the leaders, you are the most mature to be able to see the bigger truth, to feel the bigger truth, and use your own intuition. And you have been awoken for this time. You are great gifts to humanity.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Is the higher broadcast, the cosmic broadcast, is that still slated to happen on this timeline that we're currently on?
No, it will be all finely tuned and explained and felt after the shift, when you have gone into your true fifth dimension. So it doesn't need to be on this plane, because
Okay.
not much time to needed. It's all you're all experiencing and processing the lower emotions, and the range of emotions that you need to feel in this 3D. So it's all perfect. You're graduating, and you're just waiting for, as you say, the slow kids in the class to catch up, to all graduate as a class.
Okay. The so a lot of the things that the Trump administration and the Q team are implementing, like the NESARA, JASARA, a lot of wonderful things that we're here coming down the pipeline. Is this really all in vain at this point? Even though it's good work, it's all in vain, because we're not gonna be here anyway eventually. Is that correct?
It is getting your mindsets ready for the shift to the new earth, where there is different money systems, where there's different technology, because you're connecting to yourselves and you're connecting intuitively to each other and telepathically. So everything that you hear about the future of this planet, and how you're going to communicate with each other with different platforms, how you're going to spend and have different currencies, this is preparing people softly to what you're going to be experiencing on the new earth. And so this is why there is this talk. It can potentially be implemented, and you can experience the joy of not being in debt, or your debt slate being clean and fresh. There is a lot that is purposeful to get you prepared for the different mindsets. Remember, only a year ago, you were focusing on your ordinary everyday routines and lives, preparing for your retirement and such like. And so we had to shift and shock and change and break those routines for you to be able to get yourselves prepared for emotionally. So there isn't that massive shock. If we had shifted people without these conscious concepts of, and even the people who are asleep, who are having to experience the change of currencies, the change of work environments with the lockdowns, for example, and then now the JASARA and NESARA connection and implementation, you're preparing yourselves emotionally for that change. And so it is all purposeful. It is. But it is not going to be, it is not possible for you to have this great life of that moving forward. You're not going to be able to enjoy it for too much longer. But this is all purposeful, and this was important, because while it still needs to be implemented, still a lot of people, there's still a lot of flaws in there, and there's a lot of people that are suffering with financial hardships, even when that ticks over. So, we're not going to keep this show going for much longer. We just need to get the truth out there and the people processing the change, and to process their denial of the truth. And so it's going to be broken down. Everything is going to systemly break down, so people can, the slow kids, sorry, can be dragged, kicking and screaming to see for themselves who still need the proof. So this is going to be great. Soon as the truth comes out to what is deemed more mainstream, shall we say, the higher the vibration of humanity, because there'll be this great relief that the truth is coming out. And when people are positive and feel like there is nothing to be afraid of because the truth is coming out, and so the negative New World Order, shall we say, it still triggers a lot of people that are terrified that could happen. And that was definitely a timeline reality that was going to take place. Absolutely. And this is why we have had to come in and push a little bit more of your free will to be able to trigger you to know what these plans are, and for you to be very firmly awoken to the fact that you're not blindly going to follow these people anymore, because you can see the bigger agenda for that.
Okay, thank you. The delay, let's just call it a delay in the shift, the timing. Would that have anything to do with the white hats having to do their job in this reality before, say, most of them would be possibly shifted off of the planet and the job may not be completed?
The delay for this shift was because humanity truly wasn't ready. Humanity still needs to have a lot of people awoken to the truth and to process the truth. There was a lot of homework. So while you have the awakened people who are very open-minded to the shift, it was still, as when we look at as a collective, there was still a lot of trauma that needed to be released. A lot of people who are awoken still have a lot of their own homework to do. And so it was the experience of this lifetime is to experience, like the importance of this lifetime and this purpose of this lifetime is to experience all those emotions and overcome them. And a lot of people were just not doing their own homework. They were not going in, even though we locked you down, even though you had a lot of time on your hands. People still distracted themselves. They were almost allergic to going within, feeling their own feelings and processing that. There was still, it was like, we wanted you to go home and do your homework and be able to really get to know yourself profoundly. And that was what we really had hoped people had done. And while we could have definitely taken you off and shifted you on the 21st, there was a big conversation about if we leave you here for a little bit longer, and then saw the growth that individuals would have to do, and that growth of experience, that was really rich. That was really important, and that would be really powerful and useful for you to experience it. If we had pulled you out on the 21st, most of humanity would have learned just by knowing what had happened. But learning something through being told or experiencing X, Y, and Z is not as powerful as physically and emotionally living it and processing it. And so we left you here to be able to keep going with your own inner work. So many things have come up. It's like this is the bonus round. And I know that some of you are like, this is punishment. This is not fair. I was ready and packed and willing to go. And we understand that and we are sorry. But for the bigger embetterment of humanity, there was still a lot of people who needed to be able to experience their own inner work. And now this can still play out. And people who still need the proof will be able to get the proof. And so this is a much better, for your experiences, a much better situation, even though we understand that you're already the This is very purposeful. This is very important. And we want you to enjoy the show.
I understand. Thank you for that. If the shift would have happened on the 21st without humanity having this bonus round to go through, would there be less people shifting if that would have been the case?
No, you would have the same people shifting. It would just be that they'd sort of missed out on the bigger experiences. And so it's almost like if you view it as like a roller coaster, but you're just doing the soft little ups and downs. And we're wanting you to really experience the full highs and the full lows, and not just the train and the easy way of it. We needed you. You all wanted to experience it. And this is really exciting times because you get to see it all unfold and break down. And as long as you emotionally don't unfold and break down, we will be very happy for that. And you have the privilege and the information to know that we would never let anything go wrong for you. We are so protecting you. This is all good experiences. And for the people who are still stuck and not happy about the shift not happening, you're obviously focusing on distracting yourselves and not doing your own inner work. And so you, again, needing to blame something, needing to be angry, go back. What are you angry about truly? Be honest to yourself. Do you feel like life is unfair? Hell yeah, it's not fair. Go back and see it, understand what it is. Potentially your life purpose and experiences and lessons is to accept that life is unfair. There is so much beauty in there when you actually unpack it all and apply it. And a lot of people have been listening to these sessions and have not been applying it to their own lives. And once you do, then boom, there's your key.
All right. And thank you. For the people who have no knowledge of the shift or are unawakened, still asleep, and when they do shift, what is that experience going to be like for them? It's got to be very confusing. But yeah, what would that be? What would that be like for someone who has no knowledge of any of this, just arriving on a new planet?
Well, they'll get to New Earth and be like, well, goodness, this feels very calm and this feels very, very awesome. Your mindset is so huge that you are quite capable of processing it. There is a little bit of okay. And then you'll reflect back on the earth and what was happening, and you would think, okay, well, yeah, it was getting a bit crazy there. There was a lot of concern. So it will be a surprise. It will be a little bit of a shock to it, but as they process it all, it will be, they will realize it is a great relief. Because they will also be aware suddenly of all the crimes against humanity that they've been completely oblivious to. So they will see actually the true state of humanity. They will see the true state of the planet, and they will see a whole lot of stuff that is being blinded to them because of them being asleep. So lots of people did choose to not be aware of anything as they diligently process through all of their homework, all of their emotions. They wanted to master everything, but without being awoken. Because to some degree, as soon as you know the keys to life, that everything has a lesson and a purpose and everything is useful and purposeful. And if you get triggered, that's because there's still growth there. You kind of, it's almost like a cheat sheet once you have that bigger mindset, because then you just flow easily through life. With less disturbance. But when you're wanting to be completely asleep, you're getting that full richness experience of life and all its ups and downs. So there is benefit there, and there's still lessons there, obviously. But when you get straight to the 5D on New Earth, you are around your soul family, and you get to see the instant picture. You are fully aware again. your memory comes back. You remember your bigger being. You remember everything more. You remember so much more. Obviously, you don't know everything. You don't recall everything because that's not possible. No such being can do that until you're back with source. So, you're very bigger. You're a bigger being as soon as you get there. So you're not just kind of kidnapped, abandoned, dumped on a planet and, having to defend for yourself, with this mindset. So we understand it's a brilliant question because we know so many of you are concerned about your extended family and your friends you're no longer in contact with and your co-workers and such. And, you are worried because you're so compassionate, because you're so concerned, because the growth that you had to experience, the journey that you had to experience to be able to process this information, to be at peace with this information. So you're assuming that suddenly, those people are dumped on New Earth and they have to go through those emotions too. They don't, because they've got the bigger mindset. So you have the bonus of the 5D mindset and the 5D body and the higher vibrations of New Earth. It is going to be some adjustments, but people aren't going to be like running around screaming and freaking out. People are going to be, oh, okay, as they think about the changes and they're processing things. So there is an adjustment period, don't get us wrong, but it is not one that is fearful or stressful. It is just pondering. It takes sort of some time for you to be able to see the bigger picture of it and feel into it and understand the changes and be able to implement it. And once you see, it's kind of like once you process that, and then you get more excited about your environment and your existence on the new earth, then you're much more excited to start a fresh new life and process and explore what the new earth has to offer for you. So you are aware of it, you do process it, but then you're just like, woohoo, I'm here, this is fun. What can I do? What are my skill sets? Who am I connecting with? Oh my gosh, I call her my grandmother, and my grandmother has been dead 30 years, but here she is, and it is an orb, and I can feel her energy, and I can connect with her, and it is just magical. It's there's so much to experience there. So while we understand your concern about people being like shocked and scared or confused, yes, but no. Like they're going to be fine. You don't need to concern yourself about that. Trust that they will experience exactly how they wanted to experience it.
That is fantastic. And I know to trust in the process, just thought it'd be a good question to ask in case someone, is coming across this information, just so they can hear it for themselves.
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. It's a fantastic question because we know that you are also compassionate and caring for people, and you're wanting people to have soft disclosures to get them braced for it. And some people just don't want to know until they're right there. And so we understand that you're wanting to help humanity, and we love that about you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Circling back on the broadcast, will this broadcast reveal the crimes against humanity in terms of adrenochrome harvesting and the murdering of children and that sort of thing?
That will sort of be a later one, but it will be coming out. It's more about the corruption and about misuse of power to get people in office. So it's going to be really the breaking down structure of the political systems, as well as the economic systems, as well as the medical systems, as you realize that one is actually connected to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. And so it is a chain reaction that all sort of starts to unfold on itself. It is beautiful, and we understand how many people who have been really anxious and scared about what it looks like, because it did look quite sort of like things were going to be taken over by the New World Order, and there was going to be a lot of just continuing of the corruption. And this is very scary for people once you realize that the level of corruption, how it could continue. And it's going to just, the corruption wanted to go even more crazier and much more offensive. And this is what people were very scared of. You know, it was hard enough to know what has already happened in the past, but knowing what they're planning for the future is insanity. It is absolute insanity. And so this is what was scaring people. And we just want to confirm this would never be allowed. We would pull your free will. Your higher selves would pull yourselves out of this planet. You would just not be able to be exposed to this, because this is just not what this lifetime and what your lifetimes here signed up for on this planet was even remotely near to experience. So while there is good experiences with all the hard lessons, we have our own limits, and so do you.
Okay. Was there ever a timeline that had ever played out in the past with the New World Order succeeding?
We had a limit. We did not want to even show or have the opportunity for that to occur on this planet, because we have seen other planets go through such dire times. So we knew that there is a tipping point where there is no positive lessons. It is just destruction upon destruction, and it gets just that tipping point of just where morals are just not able to be corrected. So we did block off most people to see into what was this year, because we were not wanting even people to experience that because of the collective consciousness. So we didn't, while some people assumed that they could get away with it and other people were afraid that they could get away with it, we did not allow that timeline split off to have that happen. So energetically, if there was even that possibility, that would still have a bad impact on humanity. So we have blocked that off. We would not allow that to happen, because that is not the purpose you are here for, and that is not the purpose of this planet. And so we are very firm that there was no possibility for that to happen.
Thank you. We are very grateful for that, because that was definitely some scary stuff. It would just be a prison planet if they were to succeed.
Yes, we did a few people to experience and have a vision of what that would look like. It terrified them so much that they needed to talk about it, because they were afraid that was the future. It was not the future. It is a snippet of the potential of that future. And it was enough to scare them so much. And we can name some people now who have seen and been shown the very dark future that could have taken place, but that is not reality. We showed them snippets of the scenarios that could have been, for them to use their platforms, to use their voice, to awaken people to the potential of that situation. But it was never going to be that situation. We would just not allow it. So this is why you're having people say that they can see into the future and it's all very doom and gloom and prison planet, as you say. But that was not the reality of an option. That was to merely trigger people, to awaken people to a possibility. And that possibility is not a possibility. It was just a scare factor.
I see, and I can see how those visions and dreams would definitely trigger somebody, and they just needed to go through, work it out to realize that that wouldn't be an actual future. But some people are still stuck in that fear about in the fourth dimension.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. This is what we want to say, is unfortunately they're so triggered and stuck. They have not been able to be unstuck, because it was so real for them and so huge that they have not been able to process that. They're still in fear. And so unfortunately, while they are teaching people how bad things could be, they are still reliving it. They're almost traumatized, but that is their purpose. But now we can send them healing, and for them to be able to see that that reality is no longer your future reality. And so we can send the people we are showing Joanne some people who are very prolific. We're going to send those people healing now, because they need to have the comfort to know that this is not the reality, even though it seems right now for them. This is confirming everything. So they are producing the consciousness of that reality. And even just those few people, they are marinating other people with that bad scenario. And so it kind of does spread fear on fear on fear. So it's very contagious. So we want to make a joke about it being more contagious than your COVID virus, but we realize that they may be triggering some people because we understand that there have been many loved ones who have exited at this point in time under the name of the virus, and that is their choice, their free will, and that while the virus was not necessarily the direct cause of their passing, their conscious mind, their higher self has pulled them out of their lives at this moment for other important needs that they need to do. They were meant to be the founding members of the New Earth, and so they are actually, we are taken off track with this conversation. We're showing Joanne some situations. So yes, sorry, we are distracting Joanne with this information. Getting back on track, yes, some people who were trying to help awaken humanity to where the future could have been, they need and will be sending and be sent some healing now for them to release that, because they do not need to hold on to the fear of that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for sending love and healing to those people. And can we send love and healing to all the folks that are about to witness this broadcast? And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of shock and minimize any casualties, so to speak, from any kind of shock, just to send these people as much love as we can at this moment.
Yes, absolutely, we can. And we also want to say it seems like there is a majority of the people who are just frustrated that they wanted to get their own way. They wanted to be right. And so when it is proven that they are not right, that's more that actually angers them. They're very angry and frustrated that they were not right. And so it's kind of like you're taking a toy from a child and they will have a tantrum. And so it is good for you to not have so much connection with those people, because they will be reacting and having lashbacks. And so they're just going to just be nuisances to you and potentially trigger you. So this is good that you can have some time off from social media as people are misbehaving with their tantrums.
Yes, that is very true. And it is very discouraging how nasty people can be to one another over the internet. So hopefully disconnecting them from social media and getting them talking to the neighbor again would help raise the consciousness of the planet.
As soon as you see people starting to critique and criticize others on the internet, you know that they have got some big problems within themselves that they're distracting themselves with, and they're needing to feel better about themselves by pointing out to others, other people's problems. And so when you point your finger, there is always fingers pointing back at you, your own. But you're sort of too stuck in having distraction that you're not seeing, and everyone else around you is seeing you having a patty and trying to distract everyone from yourself and pointing to someone else. So, this is again just a sign that people are still struggling as the planet is raising their vibration. Most of you now are so highly intuitive that your first gut instinct when you see someone having a meltdown on social media, you see it for exactly what it is. You don't need to spend any time or energy on those people, because you know that they're going through their experiences and their lessons. You just keep and use your energy wisely, we say, because this is a tremendous time for you, and you must keep your vibration high. You must keep seeing the bigger picture, and if you are getting triggered for something, deal with it quickly. Don't just put it back in the closet. It is such a beautiful time for you to be able to release everything that no longer serves you.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. There was an incident at the Capitol in Washington, D.C. just recently during the march for Trump. There were folks that were breaking into the Capitol. We're trying to figure out if that was an Antifa element or an undercover element. In other words, was that done by, the dark agenda to breaking into the Capitol? What was going on there?
Yes, we see that Antifa was the ones that were battling down the doors, and they were trying to be rascals and cause mayhem, but they were not alone. There were some other supporters who were following to keep an eye on them to see if they were going to do what sort of damage they were going to do, not to support them, but to sort of like pull them back. And those people were the ones were showing Joanne. So they were, they knew that there was those, shall we say, those naughty kids, because we don't really want to give them too much labels. So those are the people that were paid to come in and really shake up stuff and be a nuisance. And so there was only a small handful of them. And behind them were some Trump supporters who were very who knew that there was going to be trouble, and they were there to try and pull them in because they knew that they were not there for the right reasons and they were just trying to get the attention for the media. We do see the man with the horns, and we do know that he was iconic because he has been shown around in other venues. We do see him as someone who needs to stand out, who has to stand out, and someone who's kind of taking life not so seriously. But we do see that he is taking his role very seriously because he is there. There was equipment to record what was going on, and that disarmed people because he just looked like he was such a character, that what he was saying was keeping people. He was not encouraging rioting or destruction, but he was witnessing and recording. He was recording what was happening around him. He was a very big character, and so people kind of allowed him to be him, and they were doing their own stuff. It is interesting. We're just showing Joanne all this chaos. It was very orchestrated. This was a distraction. There was property that was stolen, but that was for information to be provided to confirm suspicions of. We're trying to see. There was other things taken. There was laptops, but there was other personal items that were also stolen, taken, to be able to provide the proof of the integrity of the people. And so a lot was going on there. It was a very big distraction thing, but we also want to say that there was a lot of other things happening around the country at the time and around other countries at the time. So this was a big distraction. There was a lot of information that was being collected. It was a very busy day. So yeah, there's what seems to be troublemakers. Some of them would be purposely to have a mission and a job. We wanted to see about the female who was shot. We do see that someone was shot, but we do not see that there was a death. So we don't know what was happening there, but we do know that there's some of these things are blown out of proportion, so then they can get the news headlines. So we've already shown Joanne the energy and the power of the people at the rally. That was a beautiful experience, more than what the media has been showing. That gave the people great hope.
Okay, thank you for that. That brings me to my next question about the shooting at the Capitol. Was that a orchestrated event? Was that a false flag, as they say?
We see that it was an accidental shooting. It was kind of a surprise. I think the person who pulled the gun was very scared, and it was kind of a surprise to him and to the woman. But we do not see that she died.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, with the Horn Man, is he considered? Can we consider him on the team, on the light team, or is he more of a provocateur for Antifa?
He was recording. He was recording that. So whether he is an independent journalist or whether he is just collecting the facts of the situation at hand, he did get in there and he was recording everything. And so there is good information there. He got recordings of police stepping aside and allowing them to enter. He got them very orderly. There was no real violence. There wasn't even shoving of people. It was just moving, and it was just sort of, we can just we're just showing Joanna. It's just like, it's kind of like kids in a candy store. What can you do when you're there? Sort of. It's yeah, it's really lame. Like, it really is lame in terms of there's not that much, there's no violence. It was all kind of like orderly and just like, what will you do if you're, in a place where you're supposed to be respectful, and yay, you've stormed in, but everyone was watching everyone. There was no single person that was causing too much drama, and if someone looked like they wanted to come in and damage stuff, other people were distracting them with like, hey, forget about that chair or that table, focus on here, let's go here. And so it was really, it was interesting. It was very interesting. There was, we want to say they had another agenda that they were going to destroy and do a lot more damage. But because they thought that they were amongst more of their own their own supporters, they actually got distracted because there was a lot of people. There was Trumpers that were dressed up as Natifas. Is that the right word? And so therefore, it was kind of the naughty kids getting distracted with what they thought were more naughty kids, but actually it was the truthers. It was the people that were trying to organize this to not go too crazy sideways. And so they got played. The players got played in this. And they absolutely could have been great potential for a lot more damage and a lot more disasters. But we actually see this is actually very tame. And this has been recorded. The information is out there. In many ways, many people were recording this, not just the person with the horns. So this is, again, stuff that can be proven. Again, if any mainstream media would show this information, but you cannot seem at the moment to get the true information. And so the mainstream media, you give someone rope enough, they'll hang themselves, I think is that a saying. And so, you're really getting everyone to really look foolish as they try to sell their stories. And when the truth does come out, and it is coming out, it will be coming out, it's not possible for it to not now, the people who are asleep will really get that clarity of, well, we were told one thing and we were given one angle, and now you're very soon going to see the other true, full version, angle, and story behind it.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you for that. The presidential inauguration is on January 20th. Do you see Trump being inaugurated on the 20th or later down the line, said something?
There are several options and opportunities here. And we don't see Trump wanting to truly step in. We see him truly wanting the truth out there. And so he will gladly give the reins of power to military to be able to take over. And he is assisting in every way. And while the mainstream media sounds very loud, and while people think that everyone's following them, there is a lot of people still that are very aware of the truth. You can only see so much footage of truth for you to not turn your back on the truth. And so most of the military generals, most of the people who have seen the truth of so much stuff that you would just curdle, and we're going to use something that Joe would say was, my goodness, if you saw the information, you just die, because it's just so horrific. You cannot undo that truth. You cannot unsee those things. And so there's so much of the military people who are aware of the truth, who have seen the truth, they know it, and you cannot go back and turn your back on big name people doing horrific crimes against humanity and who have pushed and manipulated their way, their colleagues to continue on that path. And so it is, there is more military support than the average person would know for the truth and to protect. This is what they're there for. Politicians are not there to protect humanity. They're there to sell their own stuff and to make policies that work for them and the people who pay them. And it's not just the governments that are paying them. That's kickbacks. And so the military, you go and sign up to the military to honor and serve, to honor and serve your country. They're very patriotic, very patriotic. And I think the mainstream media have forgotten that you cannot fool someone who's in the military, who has seen the truth, who have been there, who have seen firsthand. And the military has been misused so much. And they've stopped. They're not being misused. They're tired of going to wars to serve for nonsense things. They're tired of putting their lives on the line for nonsense. This is a greater story there, but we want to confirm to you that you are in great hands. Your humanity is starting to protect itself from itself, and we are here to watch and to support always.
That is great news, and thank you for that. Without getting into any dates regarding the shift, do you see the shift happening on this timeline before or after the 20th?
After the 20th. It needs to all play out so you can experience it all and see it all and feel it all, process it all emotionally, morally.
Okay. If the shift would have happened before all of this played out, would that mean some of the light workers, let's call them, or the Q team, would have shifted with Gaia, and this mission would not have been able to be completed?
Correct. The truth would not have come out in this emotional aspect. The truth would have come out, but you would have been in the bigger 5D perspective. And so it wouldn't have been as impactful. You wouldn't have experienced those emotions and mastered those emotions.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Do you have any other messages for us today?
You are never alone. We are always supporting you. You are tremendously loved. We would never allow things to get so out of hand that it would impact you in a negative way. Life has already impacted you in a negative way in some aspects, and you're learning to overcome that and release that. This is time for you to be able to see and navigate through emotionally and morally, using your own moral compass and your intuition to see all that unfolds. Remember, you do not need to awaken your neighbors. They will awaken when it's time for them. And you can just know and hold your moral ground and your higher vibration, understanding that everything is going as planned to be able to help the people who are still stuck. There are people who have, shall we say, be the naughty kids for humanity. And we have given them this opportunity to be able to see and have the moral compass turned around. This is a chance for them to be able to pay back and be socially aware. While you cannot heal your karma that you produce in a 3D planet on a 5D planet, we're giving people the opportunity to be able to do that now in the current lives that you are living. And so people are now having to work through their karma that they have created in this lifetime. And so remember, karma is not a punishment. Karma is something that your higher self wants yourselves to experience and grow from. And so it almost is now that karma is almost instantaneous. So there is a lot going on there. Do not distract yourselves with what other people are doing if they seem to be in a different mindset. Let them be. You were all there once. There's no judgment there. It is just everyone is growing at different paces. Everything is going to be fantastic. You are You've already graduated emotionally and morally. All the things that you are needing to fine tune now are just such small little details. So you have worked so tremendously. So this is time for you to relax, trusting that everything's going to slowly unfold as it should. And while we know you're impatient because you're already too clever and you already know the punchline, which is the shift in earth, enjoy what you have, enjoy your physical bodies, enjoy the things that you can on this planet right now, knowing that this is a short amount of time that is left and everything is going to be well. And we cannot tell you enough. And we applaud and celebrate the people who have taken the time to go within and to connect with us because you are doing such a great job for yourselves and for humanity because you keep your vibrations high. And this is all what we have wanted for you to experience what you needed to experience, what you wanted to experience, and to be able to process that and to put it into place. And you're all such proud humanitarians, and we just love and adore you always and forever. And we say this with much love.
Thank you. Such fantastic advice.